Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bible Schooled. I'm Josh Terry, and this is your first time tuning in with us. These are videos that we put out on Sundays and Wednesdays so that we can discuss Bible topics in our Zoom class. These videos are designed to cover a basic understanding of what we're going to be talking about in the Zoom class, and we'll end with two questions. We meet in our Zoom classes on 7 o'clock for the junior high and then 7:30 for the senior high on Wednesday nights. And then on Sunday mornings we meet at 10 o'clock for junior high and then 10:30 for the senior high. And it's a great way to dive into the text during this time where we're supposed to be social distancing. This past Sunday we looked at Acts chapter 6, and we looked at the very beginning of deacons and what that word deacons mean, or diakonos in Greek, which actually means servant or someone who serves. And in this class, we're going to be expanding upon that idea of what it means to be a first century Christian in a 21st century world. And so I want to look into that, and one of the subjects that the kids wanted to talk about was how to be a better person, how to be a better man or woman. And one of those ways that we can be better people is by serving others and by being a servant. So I really want to focus on serving and what it means and why we should be doing it and how to do it. I want to talk about the story in John 13 of Jesus washing the disciples' feet. Now I want you to imagine that you're sitting there at the table with all your friends, and all of a sudden one of them gets up and starts putting a towel around him, takes off his outer garment and lays it down and puts his towel around himself, gets a bowl of water, and comes over and starts washing people's feet. And this scene speaks numbers because it's so odd and confusing. It's interesting because we know who Jesus is. We know what he does. But yet we see him being a servant. Now, it's important that we look at this and we say, wow, here's someone who actually cares and he actually does something about it. He sees a need and he fills it. The need was that they needed their feet to be washed, and Jesus steps up. Someone who doesn't actually need to be the one to step up. In fact, he could have looked and said, I am the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This is below me. This is beneath me. And could have told one of the other apostles to do it. But instead, he looks at it and says, there's a job that needs to be done and I need to do it. And it reminds me of the story from a Robots. It's Robots movie? I don't remember exactly what it was. But it was something dealing with this line of, if you see a need, you fill that need. And it was talking about inventors coming up with these great gadgets. But if you see something, if you see a problem, then you can be the one to fix that problem and fix that need. And it's not something that you just go and complain about, but you go and you do it. And this is important because we see Christ filling the need of someone to wash the feet, even though it wasn't his responsibility. And that's important, and we should be looking for ways to fill those needs like Christ does, even if we find them to be below us. I'll tell you a story. My dad's a welder, and for the longest time, people were complaining about not having a lot of business at the shop he was working at. And so a man came in and he had a crack in his lawnmower, and my dad fixed it, and he was like, how much do I owe you for it? My father said, don't worry about it, it's free. It didn't take much. I had the extra metal lying around. I welded it really quick. It was free. And the man goes, really? He was like, yeah, it's no big deal. See, Dad humbled himself in that situation and said, hey, my work wasn't that tough. Don't worry about it. It's free. And from that moment, he was glorified because that man went and got things that he needed welding, things that could be used, and he brought them back to Dad and was like, hey, can you do these big jobs? And he paid him for them. And then his business grew and grew, and before you know it, the welding shop was doing very well. Now, that being said, you humble yourself and make your servant in the same way we get lifted up and exalted because you're willing to do things And that's a rare occurrence in today's society. And you see, that's what this whole series is about, how to be a first century Christian in a 21st century world. We're looking at society then versus now. And as we're looking at how to be a first century Christian, being a servant is something that is so foreign to us as Americans. We do not see this idea of being a servant as a good thing. We have always looked down upon servants and people that have lower jobs than us. And we have this social hierarchy. And it's really interesting that during the corona, we see a change happening. We see people that are essential, people who were overlooked for the longest time, truck drivers, people that work at Walmart, people that work in food service, drive-through, and fast food. These people are considered essential, and they stay open. And even though we overlook these people most of the time, and nobody's like, hey, I go to college so I can work at a Walmart and be an essential employee. Nobody does that. But instead of being focused on people not having these jobs where they're serving someone, we instead now see that those are important roles. Those are important people. And that we as Christians are also important when we serve others. When you serve people, you become essential and valuable. And that's really awesome to think about, especially as we're moving into our Christianity of being a better person. So my two questions for you are, the first one, why do you think God wants us to be servants? Why do you think he wants us to serve each other? It's a really interesting idea. Is it because we get warm, fuzzy feelings inside when we serve each other? Is it because we're made in the image of God? I want to hear what you have to say. What do you think about this? I'm unsure on this one because I don't know God's mind 100-fold. You know, I can still learn new things, and so I want to hear what you have to say. And so as we're looking at this idea, why does God want us to be servants? I also want to look at the idea of what do we get out of serving people? Do we get this warm, fuzzy feeling? Do we get something like my dad did? Do we get other jobs that value us and appreciate us? What's the purpose of us serving each other? That's all the time we have for today. Thank y'all so much. This is a shorter video, I understand, but I'm really looking forward to talking about it in the Zoom class. Being a servant is something that is so huge to helping us reach out and connect with people. And so if you are interested in it, don't forget to come to the Zoom class. I look forward to seeing y'all. Thank you. Bye. Oh, you just got Bible schooled.